a disabled pensioner who died of a heart attack after chasing thieves down the street on his mobility scooter was one of a kind, according to his neighbors. Robert Jeans, 75, was found slumped over his disabled buggy moments after confronting three men who ran off after stealing bottles of alcohol from a high street Marks & Spencer store. Retired pub landlord Mr. Jeans had undergone several chest operations and had just been diagnosed with cancer when he collapsed and died in the street on Sunday. Paramedics tried desperately to save his life, but he was later pronounced dead in hospital after being airlifted by helicopter. The Boulevard in Crawley, near to where Mr. Jeans was found collapsed. Image News Agency Limited. Today, distraught neighbors mourning his death paid tribute to the pensioner who was known as Bob. Friend of 18 years, Janet Breach, 54, revealed the former pub landlord had lost his ribcage and was always in and out of hospital. Speaking on the doorstep of her flat in Crawley, West Sussex, she said, "He was one character. There was only one Bob Jones. I have never known another man so full of character, especially with me and him. Every day I would speak to Bob. I would hear his mobility scooter, it had a squeaky wheel. I would often be sitting in the washing line area and would hear his squeaking wheel and I would just say, 'Morning, Bob.' We had a brilliant friendship." If he wasn't jokingly insulting me, then there was something seriously wrong, and I mean that in the nicest way. He was a very gentle, beautiful man. Bob helped Janet when she first moved into the block of flats in Crawley in 2000 as she grieved the loss of her husband, Clifford, something she says she will never forget. Visibly upset with her voice faltering, she said, "Bob was a very popular man and everyone knew him. If you wanted to know anything that was going on, you would go to Bob. He would know what to do. He was very clever but also a very funny man." The 75-year-old was found slumped over his disabled buggy moments after confronting three men who ran off after stealing bottles of alcohol from a high street store. Image News Agency Limited. The former landlord of the Black Dog pub in nearby Northgate had many fingers in many pies in their community, she said, despite his ill health. He had so many heart attacks and had been written off, said Janet. He had been through so much but he defied the odds. It would be easier to say what wasn't wrong with him. He would never stay in hospital. If he was rushed off in an ambulance, he would discharge himself the next day and get a taxi home. They couldn't keep the man down. What happened to cause his death makes me so angry. He kept going and going, and it takes three guys, three of them, to confront a man on a mobility scooter. I couldn't think of anything worse in my life, to be honest. Born in London, Good Samaritan Bob took in an Afghan refugee woman 15 years ago who had escaped the war-torn country. Police were today still trying to locate her to inform her of the news after she left Mr. Jean's home just weeks before his death. Barry Pelham, who had lived in the flat above Bob for 18 years, said that the woman later became his carer. He would do anything for anyone and always helped people out, said the 45-year-old. He heard about this Afghan lady through the council and got to know her story. The council put her up in a house, but Bob didn't feel it was good enough and took her in himself. Then she became his carer when he became ill. Obviously he had heart problems and in the past 3 months told me he had a little bit of cancer. He would always try to help people out. He was the person in their community that did good. "I'm very upset." Another neighbor, who did not wish to be named, said she would often see Bob in the area with his legs wrapped in bandages. "He was such a nice man," she said. "The people living right next to him will be very upset. He always cared quite a lot about the neighbors around him. He would go the extra mile to make sure you are all right. He would always see the bright side, even though he wasn't very well." Bob had been riding his mobility scooter on the high street near his home when he saw several men stealing food from the nearby Marks and Spencer store in the boulevard. Bob saw 3 men run from the M. Mr. Jeans pushed the accelerator on his disabled scooter and gave chase along the pavement, only stopping when, according to local residents, the thieves turned on him and shouted at him to stop. Bob was taken to St. George's Hospital in Tooting, London, where he died shortly before 9 p.m. on Sunday. Police said they were now treating his death as manslaughter. It was understood police were also trying to track down Bob's estranged daughter, who he had not seen for 30 years, to inform her of her father's death. The pensioner moved to his ground-floor red brick flat near the center of Crawley about 20 years ago. Mr. Jeans had undergone several chest operations and had just been diagnosed with cancer. Image Ins News Agency Limited. Bob, according to his Facebook page, studied for a diploma in bakery and confectionery at London South Bank University, after previously being educated at London's all-boys Wilson's Grammar School, which lists Italian job actor Sir Michael Caine as one of its former pupils. In 2006 he set up wholesale company Tembo Concepts Limited that described itself as a business selling a variety of goods. Detectives said that they were still investigating the manslaughter and launched a fresh appeal for information over the 75-year-old's death. 3 men were held for robbery and manslaughter. 1, 36, of Crawley, was freed without charge. 2, 25 and 41, of no fixed address, have been bailed.